I call the honourable member Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Take a call on this very important issue. Mr Speaker, in a liberal democracy such as we have and such as we aspire to, we seek to ensure that the freedom of the citizen is maximised. And as part of maximising every citizen's freedom, we accept that there is a divergence of views, and we accept that everybody is entitled to express their views and take actions to express their views, even if sometimes those views are repugnant and sometimes they cause revulsion within the community. That's the nature of a free and democratic society. That's the nature of a truly democratic country. But alongside that, we also seek to preserve the nation-state and the institutions that make it up. And what goes to the heart of this issue are these very important principles that underpin our constitution such as it is. Mr Speaker, some in the pursuit of their freedom of expression may act in ways to bring down the institutions of the state, if indeed not the state itself. And they may seek to undermine the accepted mores and the ways that we choose to live. Some of those are up for negotiation. They are matters of cultural values. They are matters of the way, as humanity, we change and we evolve and we develop. Mr Speaker, as social democrats, as we are in the Labor Party, we typically see the institutions of state, or of this state, as offering protection to citizens and, above all, protecting the weak against the strong. The threats that the state sometimes faces can be internal and they can be external. But we strive to uphold the state because we think it delivers, has the potential to deliver the best in terms of benefits for the community at large and for every citizen. Mr Speaker, the price for preservation of the liberal state is appropriate security measures. And this, of course, is not new. And those of you who know our history know the history, at least, of even the Westminster system. This doesn't go back to Queen Elizabeth II, it goes back to Queen Elizabeth I. And the first attempt at the Crown to ensure the security of the state was her attempt to set up a small group that became known as the Cabal, or a cabal, the various lords and dukes who made it up: Clifford, Arlington, Buckingham, Ashley and Lauderdale. Unfortunately, that fell apart because of the anti-Catholicism of the day, reflected in the 1688 Bill of Rights. But in any event, it was an attempt by the Crown of the day to ensure that there was some sense of security about the state and at least the monarch. It goes before, well before then, of course, and in the original, the nation-states upon which we now base our democracy, the Greeks and the Romans. The Romans had their Praetorian Guard and all these attempts to shore up the state of the day. Mr Speaker, there is always a tension in a free state where the apparatus needed to protect and preserve that state that can interfere with people, interfere with their freedoms, pry into their privacy and defeat their rights. But against that, we accept the need for security. And while we do that, then the oversight that we have for our security apparatus is absolutely crucial, absolutely essential. And in a free and democratic country such as we aspire to be, then that oversight must rest with the duly elected representatives of the state, and that is members of this House. And so the Act under which this appointment is being made has been conceived to achieve that purpose. This committee is part of the apparatus that we have to provide that oversight. It is a bulwark against the excess and the abuse of power by our security agencies, who must act, if they are to act effectively, often in darkness, if I could use that metaphor, and out of sight of the general public. But I have to say, Mr Speaker, when we look at the legislation governing this committee, Section 6 in particular, the oversight that the committee to which we are now making an appointment, the oversight that it provides is the barest oversight possible. And that must cause us some concern. The truth is that the public, that every citizen of New Zealand today, as always, must have the highest degree of trust and confidence, not only in our security apparatus, but in the oversight bodies we have to ensure that they don't stray too far. We must have public confidence. That is a bottom line. And, Mr. Speaker, the tragedy about this, and the reason why this is the source of debate today, is that every aspect, every historical act in the lead-up to this appointment today has undermined the public's confidence in our security apparatus and in our oversight. And we can go back to the Kim.com fiasco, where the security agencies, particularly the GCSB, clearly acted without authority, acted outside its own laws, acted outside its own rules, and worse, the role that is meant to provide the most effective oversight of that body, the Inspector General, was found wanting. Now, that may be a resource issue. It may be a question about the powers that the Inspector General has, although I don't accept that. The powers of the Inspector General under that role's legislation are extensive, and they can stop unlawful activity, as indeed they must, as indeed they are charged with doing. But even at that level, our system has been found wanting and failing. And then, as a consequence of all that, that led to reviews and ultimately to the Kitteridge Review. And then it is, of course, around there that we have seen even those who are charged, the elected representatives who are charged with an oversight role and providing confidence to the public, even that process, or at least people involved in it, have been found wanting, have failed in their duty. And that is a great pity, Mr. Speaker, because if there is one group in whom we must have confidence because we entrust to them a very important role, it is the elected representatives on this committee, the Intelligence and Security Committee, because we require them to act as our conscience and voice if things are going wrong. And so from Kim.com to the GCSB review and the fiasco around that and the leak of the report, and of course since the report has been leaked, we've had from the Prime Minister, who really is the one where the buck stops. He's the one who chairs the committee. He's the one who has ministerial responsibility for the security agencies. When pressed for an answer about how the leak could have happened, he repeatedly and adamantly averred that it could not have been a minister in his cabinet. Could not have been a minister. And yet now it turns out that it was a minister. And when that was disclosed, we've very quickly seen a further fudging and mudging to say, nothing to see here, we'll make another appointment and life will carry on. And so, sir, then we look at the appointee and we say, is this enough to give renewed trust and confidence in this committee, in the oversight of our security agencies and in the security agencies themselves? Mr Ryle is a staunch loyalist to this Prime Minister and to this government. And I think the public of New Zealand can say of this government, 5 years into its life, having shown a shabby and tawdry regard for its responsibilities towards the security agencies, we must say it is impossible to have confidence in this appointment. And as the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, Grant Robertson, said, nothing less than a full-blown, proper, open inquiry into all the matters that have led to this appointment, to the issues about Kim.com, to the issues about the GCSP, nothing less than a full-blown inquiry that can expose the truth and enlighten the public and assure every citizen is needed, is required. That's what's needed to restore public confidence, and we need to see that. Simply making an appointment of a prime ministerial loyalist, of a Cabinet and National Party loyalist is not enough. And, sir, I repeat the call. We need an inquiry. We need the truth. We need honesty.
I call the honourable member Brendan Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.